From the three littlest worms in podcasting, we warmly welcome the one and only Big Worm. Also, despite our greatest efforts, there will be Portal Talk on this episode. Sorry. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the man who forgot the compression, Kevin Greck, and the guy who comes when he wants to. I hate you both. Alex Plum. Who wrote that?
Kevin.
Raise your hand.
Kevin did.
Yeah,
it was me.
Of course.
It was.
I'm always talking about my compression. Last week's episode came to you live from the bottom of the Marianas Trench in a submersible. So
it wasn't that noticeable.
We just got multiple listeners reaching out to us asking what was going on with
what's happening
with my audio.
Oh, like that's true. Where were you recording? That's right.
Bad.
And Plum, where were you recording from last week, bud?
Where was I? I think I had soccer. I think I had a soccer game. I think it was on the old pitch.
You did. This is the first episode back together in like 3 or 4 weeks, gents.
It's been a minute. It's good to see you both.
Wow.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Me
so
too.
Happy.
You notice that Jonesy's always here? You notice it's never not Jonesy?
It's a constant. And I think people like that. Some people.
I don't think anyone likes it.
Yeah. I don't think so either.
It's like,
most of all, you two.
It's like what every woman's grandmother tells them when they're growing up. Settle for the guy that will be there every week.
Just let him be there. Just let him be there. Yep, that's it. Why not? And we're grateful for it.
And I'm grateful for you two, definitely. But more grateful than for you two, I am, of course, grateful for our listeners. And if we could ask a small favor, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod. You can also watch this episode on YouTube at Spartan_pod on YouTube. Like, comment on the show. Those things are important. Who wants to give a run? Someone volunteer for running down the episode.
Not it.
Okay. Damn. Well, listeners, if you're listening for the first time, welcome. If you're not, we always start behind the green wall where football always leads. We'll talk commits. We'll talk recruits. We'll talk who's in. We might talk about who's out. We'll go off to talk about shooty hoops, women's golf, and a very interesting article that our favorite Lansing State Journal columnist, Graham Couch, wrote after a conversation with AD Alan Haller. We'll head off Grand River to talk about some things that are going on around the connection in sports, and then we'll end with your Twitter questions. And the Twitter question competition is starting soon.
Looming.
We
got to pick a date.
Yeah,
June?
we really should.
June?
I think it's June.
Okay. All right. Let's head behind the green wall. And yes, we're going to start first with a commitment to the class of 2025. Jace Clarizo, running back from East Lansing High School, staying home with a pretty okay offer list. Rec, I know this is where you excel. Reading teams.
Teams include Akron.
Stop. I can't deal with
Bowling Green. No. We're not going to do that the whole time. You got your Indianas, you got your Iowas, you got your Kansas, your Louisvilles, your Minnesotas, you got your Pitts. There was a USC offer in there, a Wisconsin offer. You got your Kent States. So pure group wise,
Iowa in there, right?
I think I said you got your Iowas. That was for you in particular, Mike Jones. Overall, we've seen worse peer group lists than this. We've seen better, but we've seen worse. So to have a guy decide to stay home, made a whole thing of it, I don't know. Plum, is this guy a Spartan? Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad that he's staying. He already has the DNA to be a Spartan, which is great. I'm interested by comments of Alan True, a national recruiting analyst with 24/7, who said about Jace He, quote, has subtle wiggle and is a twitchy athlete, end quote. National recruiting analysts should just stop because that's unhelpful and insane. But
I think that was Alan True making a reference to Big Worm this week. I think that's what it was. He's got his finger on the pulse and wants to make as many worm references as possible.
Listen, there ain't nothing subtle about Big Worm's wiggle. Let me just say that to you. Let me say that to you.
We are starting to notice so you're right. The peer group escalated. This is a decent one compared to some of the other ones we've seen. What is a theme, we'll say, I would describe a lot of these programs as have-nots, and I include Wisconsin and Iowa. And that's not, they've built good programs over time, but Iowa's hemorrhaging money and doesn't have the NIL resources to compete. I think Wisconsin's also struggling a bit in this regard. USC is the only standout here with a school that has funds. You might
what are you
say.
saying about Pitt? What are you saying about Indiana? Coach Sig's got it cooking down there. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So you're right. Overall, you're right. For sure.
And that's not to say that this isn't a good way to build a program. I'm just noting a theme that it's not even the MAC offers that are a departure from Mel Tucker. We can say that, but it's the have-nots in the NIL space.
Okay,
and that's not. I'm not saying that is a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's a keen observation. Let's talk more about our haves because there was a listicle this week that ranked MSU as number 11 in the country in incoming transfer portal class. So let's break down this week's class really quick.
All right. So in Jeremiah Hughes, cornerback from LSU, 3 years of eligibility remaining, 6 foot 190, played last year as a true freshman in every game, mostly on special teams, but did get some defensive snaps as well. Say what you want, but true freshman who played in every game at LSU is still something.
LSU, yeah.
Yeah, and 3 solo tackles, which is good. So only upside for this kid. A lot of years. This
is good depth that you acquired.
Yep, correct.
And I mean, year over year depth, right? Next up, Nikai? We're going to say Nikai. Martinez.
So that's actually how it's pronounced. It's written out that way in the media guide. Nikai?
Add a question mark?
Defensive back from UCF. In 2023, as a true sophomore, played every position in the secondary for them. 13th best coverage.
He's ready for that to happen again here. So excellent. That was the appeal.
Well, and certainly with the departure of Mangum, needed some additional safeties. 13th best coverage grade in the Big 12 for all of safeties. 56 solo tackles, 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, which is in case anyone's doing stat tracking, is about 20-ish more solo tackles than Mangum had, and 1 fewer interception than Mangum had. 2 years of eligibility remaining. So I think it's fair to say that we know, Tatum and Spencer are going to be our safeties next year. This player, Martinez, certainly could slot in there. There's question marks about the nickel because I think Angelo Gross is really the only proven commodity that we have there. And by proven, I mean proven question mark. And then we've certainly made acquisitions at cornerback, but still not bad to have someone who can flex into that role should depth get a little scary.
And more to the point, he plays basketball. So, if...
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Played basketball in high school. Helped his team get to the 8A championship in Apoplecta or some sort of nameless city in Florida. Who knows? Don't know if he's any good, but look around. May not matter.
Yeah. So, if he's 7 feet, I'm interested. Next up is the aforementioned Big Worm, Ben Roberts, defensive tackle from Oregon, 4-star prospect out of high school, 6'2", 310, was projected to be on Oregon's two deep this year. Played 5 games as a freshman, 4 games as a sophomore, so last year was able to preserve his red shirt. It's worth noting despite lack of experience, Oregon did just lose a bunch of talent to the NFL off of their defensive line. So this is unsurprising that there weren't really reps the previous 2 years to be had.
Yeah, it's interesting.
3 years remaining. Go ahead, Plum.
Well, it's interesting. Demetrius, Coach Meat, our new cornerbacks coach, comes from Oregon, I believe. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct.
So knows the kid, probably was very deeply involved in his recruiting. I think it says something. You know, you heard me talk a lot about in Mel Tucker's era around culture and what coaches were doing with players to establish culture and culture. Turns out I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. It was all bullshit. But if you're able to establish relationships with young men and nurture those relationships, and they want to follow you somewhere because there's something that they think that they can learn from you, that's important. I think that does say something about Coach Meat. So we'll see. This is a good thing. Meat, get worm. Worm, get meat.
Well, and yeah, Meat's been on a heater because the previous two folks that we talked about were also Coach Meat recruits.
Yep.
Finally, Samaj Bridgman, linebacker from the University of Michigan. 4-star recruit out of high school, 4 years of eligibility remaining, was a redshirt last year.
Okay, we're good.
It's great.
You know what? We'll gladly take him.
Why not?
And,
we need him.
Welcome
Big
to
body.
the light side of the force, Samaj. Welcome.
Yeah, as we lose guys through the portal who will never be Spartans again.
You have the opportunity.
Welcome some others who will probably never be Wolverines again. Good. All right.
Even real quick, because we're talking portal stuff. So I think we've been a little gnashing of teeth the past 4 weeks. It's been there's a lot of changes obviously that are happening in the game and the way we view things as fans, but for the moment this was an exciting week. As you know, this is the fun part, and what's additionally fun is that by and large Jonathan Smith is recruiting guys who have had snaps or a reason that they haven't played, which in contrast to some of the pickups from Tucker, that's who was picking up, former 4-star who had been passed on the depth chart or got injured and then got passed on the depth chart. These are either demonstrably good players, like Ed Woods out of Arizona State was expected to be a starter. Big Worm expected to be a starter. Martinez obviously expected to be a starter. These are good pickups. And there's good eligibility left on a lot of these players. So from a program building perspective,
as we said last week, I said, listeners, football is raising the floor. And these are all guys that presumably raise the floor for your program. So this is not win now mode, bring in someone really flashy, spend all your NIL on one name that you think is going to put you over the top. This is spread out the NIL, bring in dudes with eligibility and experience, and raise the floor of the program. That's the plan.
Question for you both, though, because we have Chance Rucker coming back, who played as a true freshman last year and was pretty good as a true freshman.
Yeah,
we have Chuck Brantley coming back, who's had moments but has not been able to stay healthy as a cornerback. And then we've brought in Ed Woods, again, expected to be a starter at Arizona State. I believe was on one of the teams for all Pac-12. And then Hughes is obviously a nice little pickup. Martinez is a nice pickup. Are we getting into a place where you're starting to say maybe there's enough talent in the secondary, which we hadn't seen at all under Mel Tucker, that when do you start to have expectations for this team? When you start to be like,
I see it.
Okay.
When I see it. I've been hurt too many times over the last 4 years.
Because
it's
I'm
a believe
a sentient
it when
fucking
you see
human.
it.
Yes. That's it. That's it. Fuck.
All right.
And no one should be asking that question again, by the way, or else you get a pinch.
A demerit, a a NF Tuck that's underwater.
Okay. My God.
Real quick, did want to talk about, and this isn't to speak on the player in particular, but this is at least the second time it's happened to Jonathan Smith. Kobe Minor was an All Big Ten honorable mention cornerback out of Indiana who was expected or did visit Michigan State. His commitment was expected, and then the reporting is credits didn't transfer. And so it's the second. I think it's the only thing that I'll say from a process perspective that I think Smith and company probably need to get cleaned up here is for them and for the kid, right? Like, you don't want to waste Kobe Minor's time for him to find out I can't come here, and you don't want to waste time recruiting a kid that you can't get in.
Do you think it was Spanish credits, or what do you think it was?
All right.
I mean, was it for? I mean, what could it have been?
Do you want to tell people about how you were in the honors college? Because it makes you feel very relatable.
Yeah, it's not enough douche sitting there with the Michigan State James Madison College T-shirt. Let's compound. Let's put some honors college on that as well. Let's go.
If I had the ability to make my boobies dance, I would do it with the James Madison thing.
All right. Next up on the outline here, Mangum does, as alluded to, actually commit to the University of Michigan. I will say I was a little surprised. I thought,
I'm not. If you're going to go there, that's it. You can't go there and then come back. You don't get to take a visit.
Oh, I assumed he went to anywhere else. Like, he was being recruited. Like, he visited Ohio State, right? You know, I just assumed. Part of me was like, well, he's visiting. Shouldn't do it.
Yeah,
but
I don't care about him, so I don't. You know, I hope only good things happen in his life because I don't care about him. But my guess is and this is just my guess, I would be very unsurprised to hear one day his name associated with some very horrible crime or immoral activity. That just would not surprise me, because I don't see how you come out of Michigan State particularly with even the ability to even consider or think about going to University of Michigan. And if it is feasible, I mean, if and that could be possible. It could be that this next generation is just completely unmoored to identity and affinity and those things. But lacking that, he has to be some sort of massive sociopath. So he will do something too.
It certainly lacks judgment. And if he were in front of a jury someday, his lawyers would make sure that anyone aware of this incident was removed from the pool for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's very relevant information about whatever potential future crime he will have almost certainly committed. So it's a good point.
All right. Next up, let's talk some shooty hoops. Greg, we all but said it last week, but Zapala does, in fact, commit to Michigan State University.
Is that how you say it?
That's how we're saying it until I've heard 8 different pronunciations now.
It's not just Simon?
No, it's not.
It is. It's Simon. We're only calling him Simon. That's what this pod is calling him, and that's what his name is. And he'll come on
until he earns something else.
Until he either earns it or he comes onto this pod and corrects me. His name is Simon. All right, that's the end of that.
Plum, did you listen to last week's episode?
Yes, of course I did.
So you heard about his free throw shooting then? So you're very excited about this?
Yes, he's a 100% free throw shooter since he was in middle school.
2/3 of the time, he's a 100% free throw shooter.
2/3 is not 100%, Michael. But it's got to be better than AJ Hoggard ever did in any game he ever played, ever. So
that's probably not something that we could look at or verify in any way. Like,
I wouldn't bother.
Fact check something like that.
No, not enough time for that. Not today.
Speaking of AJ Hoggard, is there a field house in Nashville that I'm not aware of, or?
Well, so yes, AJ Hoggard commits to Vanderbilt.
He did. Off he goes.
The rumors about his NIL dollar are bananas. like wild, like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should just be glad that he's not in the conference, get it over the whole thing, and just move on.
I think so.
And all MSU Spartans should plan vacations to Vanderbilt for the night before or to Nashville the night before and after Vanderbilt games, because AJ Hogarth will be buying at the bar, and you should get in on that. So
we are certain that we're going to end up playing Vanderbilt in the tournament, right?
Yes.
It
has to. It has to. That assuming they make it into the tournament. And
Will Simon's going to hit 2/3 of his free throws and advance us
all the way. Yeah, all the way.
I assume that Vanderbilt doesn't shell out unless they're feeling somewhat confident that they might have a squad next year.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, I just want to mention MSU's women's golf is playing in the championship right now. Unsure of what the score is, but worth mentioning that they're there.
Great.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Don't know if we have an update on that. Last time we saw, looks like maybe was not going to advance, but we'll see.
Yep.
Anything else on that?
More excitingly though, our friend Graham Couch had an interview with MSU athletic director Alan Haller. What Alan told him that he had been propositioned.
A long listener of the pod.
He had also been propositioned by Mel Tucker on the phone, and that was inflammatory. I mean, if you haven't read this article, I highly recommend it. I did not realize that Mel was an equal opportunity phone masturbator. So that was
should have been a red flag, as it turns out, for the university.
Yep.
On this, Plum, you're absolutely right. One, I do think it's funny that just 2 weeks after Jonesy made that whole comment about like we started the pod because we know just as much about sports as the writers do.
Right.
Graham goes, "Oh, is that right? Well, let me just sit down with the athletic director." And then I also thought it was funny that they managed to get anything done in this conversation when, of course, they spent the first 45 minutes to confirmed listeners of the pod chatting about the three of us for that period of time.
It's exhausting. It is exhausting to know that we're talked about as often as we are by people in influential positions.
The saddest thing is we kept getting FaceTime calls from Graham during this conversation and Haller, and it was just like,
work.
You guys need to stop. You just need to settle down with this right now, okay? It's unbecoming.
It is.
Is what we talked about in our group chat.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, Jonesy, this is not just one article. This is a series of articles, as I understand it, correct? With more to come. If you're listening to this, the third installment will have dropped, I believe. Jonesy, run
third?
Well, we know so. Second, third? What?
Did I miss a second piece? Graham, my sincerest apologies if I missed.
Now we'll talk about the one that we've read, the one that we know about that you texted us.
So I'm going to save the first point on the outline here for the last, because I don't want to. There was a lot of really great stuff here said, but the first thing that came to mind for me was the conversation Graham and Haller had around revenue sharing, and Haller said something to the effect of, if cutting sports is going to be required in order to share revenue, that's when you will look for a new athletic director. As in, revenue sharing for his planning and purposes is not going to require cutting sports or changing opportunities for current student athletes. He also mentioned that, men's football, men's basketball, and women's basketball are the cornerstone of being able to provide opportunities for other people.
That's right.
But what felt, I guess I have to ask, how, Alan? Like, how are you going to do that? Because presumably if you're executing on a revenue share with 85 to, 130 student athletes, I mean, I don't know what numbers you're sharing, but like, I got to imagine, well, we know up to 20 million according to the Charlie Baker proposal anyway.
Yeah.
Like, where's that money coming from? How are you going to find that cash and keep all of your other sports? And I'm sure there's a plan, but like, it would have been nice to see some details on that.
I know.
Well, the new TV deal does start next year, right? And that does substantially escalate the amount that each of the Big Ten teams make per year. So maybe basically
do it off of profits from that.
The net of that, net of that would be earmarked for this, I presume. Which is going to be okay for MSU.
Swimming comes back.
Correct. That's because actually Alan said he got a shovel himself.
No
and
cutting
he went
sports.
And he started.
But they're going to have to swim in that money. They're going to have to swim through the money.
And that's fine.
Scrooge McDuck style. So, I was really surprised that he said flatly, there will not be a cut. I expected him to hedge at least a little bit, but I guess the hedge is I will quit if that's what's required. So
yeah, and I think he said that twice, which was interesting. So apparently, Allen and company have been planning for 6 to 8 months on varying possibilities that this revenue sharing world ends up shaking out to be, and how they'll execute on it in different modalities, depending on the rules. The next piece that Graham and Allen got into was Haller discussing name, image, and likeness regarding your Joe fan, and saying that we need you to be participants. I'm going to put a little bit of this on Graham. I know he's got column space and he had a lot to get into, but I'm also going to say, Alan, you don't need Graham to communicate this stuff. What do you mean?
Right.
You've
got to lay something out here. And by the way, okay, maybe you need Joe fan. I want to know how, because by itself, that strikes as incredibly tone deaf and stupid.
In the same way MSU needs our money as an alumni donor. No.
So, capital campaigns notwithstanding. Yeah, you have to be able to show us what's happening. So I'm going to actually use this model of the capital campaign. For folks who aren't familiar, a capital campaign is a fundraising tool where you amass at a university tens of millions, often sometimes hundreds of millions, even $1 billion to build a new stadium, new dorms, increase some endowed chairs for they're just small nonprofits do them, giant. Everyone does them in the nonprofit world. And the rule of a capital campaign is the first 60% of the money that you need. So if you're raising 100 million, the first 60 million are raised before the capital campaign is even announced. It's a silent phase where you've got your biggest top of the pyramid donors are all on board. They vetted all your materials. They've weighed in on and probably approved the language, the logo, everything else. And they've committed, here's my $10 million gift. Here's my $15 million gift. And they got you to 60 million, right? And now you're going to go public and you're going to say over the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to raise the delta. And a lot of it is actually going to come from small gifts from Joe fan. That is how they run. So I get that there can be a rule, but you don't get to say that until you're ready to go public on what it is that we're doing here. And you better have said, Steven Sanandre has given us this much, and Matt Ishbia has given us this much, and Dan Gilbert has given us this much, and whatever the fourth one is, Magic John, I don't know, fucking
Jennings,
Williams
has given us this much. And here's the corpus of our NIL deal, and it's not SD4L, fuck it. It is this new thing, and this is what's in it. And now, Joe fan, we need you to get us the 40% or 30, whatever a reasonable amount is. And it's going to be held in this, and this is the interest that it's going to bear, and this is what we're going to expect to roll off of it, and it's what's going to fund our NIL for the foreseeable future or for the next 5 years or whatever else. Like, don't come with, we're going to need Joe fan, because for me, I'm just speaking from the Mel Tucker era. I am very bruised about what the fans are expected and required to do when there isn't fucking anything happening on the field to justify it. And when I've got players just jumping fucking ship every 6 minutes, who the fuck am I paying for? You want me to give you money for a guy that's going to be out next season in the portal? Fuck all the way off. So that would not a good look. And again, to Graham, like if you're going to ask those questions, you've got to be able to go deeper in that moment there, or at least push him. And maybe he did, and maybe Alan was like, "I can't go into it. I don't know."
And he only has so much column length, right? Like he doesn't get to write a treatise. But like in a moment where, and again, I think hopefully we will execute on our questionnaire survey at some point in time to ask folks about this, but.
Can I just say, and to my point, and then I'll stop talking.
No, this is like good.
I do feel like Alan did note my last point. To be fair to him, I think Graham captured this. He had said, "I'm not of this school where guys are just there's got to be some stability." He kind of intimated there's got to be some stability in the portal. This thing that guys are leaving all the time is going to have a deleterious effect on the fan base, and it is, and it has, and it will continue to. And I think to the point around the money issue, how the fuck do you fundraise from Joe Fan when when I've got fucking guys going, a Mangum brother is going to the University of Michigan,
and I paid him last year.
Right? Like, no way. So,
if you go to spartannil.com, spartannil.com, pardon me.
Is that it? That's the name?
Membership packages start at $50 per month, or you can go $500 per year. And for that, you get updates, you get recognition, and you get the 2024-2025 memorabilia item.
I did not say enough that they are doing this so wrong.
You couldn't do that. You have to try. You have to intentionally try to do this work. You have to pay to get updates.
Makes my head hurt. Why?
You gotta pay to get updates.
I just got to say it again because it drives me nuts. You need the phone number, you need the email address, you need the home address, and then you fundraise from there. The barrier to entry should be so low.
So low. Especially right now when you're building the fucking thing.
Like, you mean why can't I get updates for $5 a month? Why can't I get updates for a one-time gift of $5?
Literally, you just want to build the base of names. You just need people. You need contact information, and you need people.
Angry.
Oh, it is. These people are fucking stupid.
Because this takes work. You know who created this? Are people for whom money does not matter. They don't have a concept of money. Well,
that's why.
What do the plebs? What are they good for?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, we'll start it. It's something like that you could just find in the couch cushions. $500 a year. $50 a month. We'll call it. That's going to be our entry point. And for that, you'll get Hall of Fame recognition, Smart Nation updates, and the 24-25 memorabilia item.
Which is like a notebook or something. Like it truly,
like a card.
You don't even want it.
It's a calendar. It's just, and it's a one piece of paper calendar where the print is teeny.
Just posing.
I will say, this is at least a step in the right direction. This is at least not like, hey, we're kind of like half cool streetwear, half give us all your money, half just listen to us, half we are going to cancel everything in mid-season, half
but
at
it's
least
one step. It's like just one step, better than that.
Correct. Correct.
I'm glad you looked that up because I couldn't bring myself to, and I'm going to have trouble falling asleep tonight.
It also took like 2 minutes for the website to load, so we love that.
Yep.
Greg, this is for you. Well, that might be your internet. Spoiler alert.
I mean, some of us are 99% uploaded.
Oh.
You, Mike Jones.
Couldn't hear any of that. Next up, Greg, the Detroit game. This is near and dear to your heart. Alan Haller was thankful that so many people showed up, but has no plans to do it again.
It was that article that it was determined the bean counters. It was the second highest revenue game of the year. I would say to that, it was your second biggest marquee game of the year. I think maybe that's the correlation more than anything. But what do I know? So yeah, okay. I was staunchly not in favor of that at the time. I begrudgingly accepted that people did. I'm kind of glad to hear that there's not any more of them, because once this program is on sound footing, the best chance to win games is to have them in Spartan Stadium. And also, I don't want to set an example to the SEC to be like, whine and moan as much as you want. Maybe they'll give you a game at Ford Field in the playoff. I do not have any interest in setting the expectation for that. So it was a nice one-off. I'll admit that I was wrong about it, probably. But let's not do it again. Let's not push our luck.
So next, I plucked this quote out regarding everything that happened with Mel Tucker, and I think, you know, and Alan Howard, he didn't say this, but his perspective probably now in a transitory moment in college athletics. The quote is, "I didn't want to be someone in a leadership position that stepped down or ran away from a difficult situation."
Mm-hmm. Are you saying that Alan has been listening to a lot of Kendrick? Is that what you're saying right now? Is that what I'm to understand?
Is this shots fired at Mark Hollis?
I mean, it's using his wording. Run away. I'm not. What Mark Hollis said in that office that day was, "I'm not running away from something. I'm running towards something," which is still one of the all-time dumb things that someone has ever said in one of those situations. So I think you can really only interpret that one way, is things that we got a little heat this year, but I wasn't about to turn tail and run, unlike some previous athletic directors at Michigan State.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll save something that Couch talked about as it relates to this on his pod for actually last. But the article opens with, the lead is fantastic in this article. So. Like Graham crushed the lead. About Haller gets a voicemail, and the voicemail was that the Mel Tucker news was coming down, and then got some advice about how, you know, you're going to want to hide, but people need you, something to that effect. Read the article. Graham wrote it well. But
does it say who made the call? I can't remember. No.
It didn't.
Yeah.
So I remember that time. I remember us recording the podcast at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember us being very frustrated with Alan Haller at that time, that he wasn't actually available.
Correct.
And also at press conference was a little haughty, as I recall. The tone of it was very like, so
the timeline, the what did you know? When did you know? What did you do about it when you knew? That's still not established, and nor will it ever be. It will never be clear to me that the university acted with the appropriate speed based on what they knew when they knew it, which is, I think, proved by the fact that the news released, and on the same day Mel Tucker was suspended without pay, which is just such a you knew. So anyway, we're not going to relitigate this, but it's like that hi, we're happy he's got the job, we're pretending nothing's wrong, and then the news suspended without pay, bad.
The argument is that administrators were sequestered from the actual process. They knew that there was an allegation. They knew that it was going through the Channel 9 process. They didn't know the details of it until the USA Today thing dropped.
Yeah.
We've also since learned that Alan Haller did want to suspend Mel Tucker. It's not clear if it was the wishes of Brandon Tracy or determined by the general counsel's office or something like that. That was the correct course of action.
Yeah,
that's my understanding of the facts as far as we know them.
I'm also tickled remembering that in that press conference in which they answered 2 questions, 3 maybe?
Yeah.
That the first one was Chris Solari asking a football question.
I will never forget Chris Solari fumbling his entire job so hard. So hard.
Well, and the way Graham has told it, they all split up. They split up the questions. But in that moment, dear Chris, you need to have the wherewithal to be like,
it is
pivot.
Time to
audible
to call the audible on that. Yeah, to use our own football analogy.
Yep.
It is time to do that.
To rely on your own professional training and identity as a journalist, sir, not as a bag or water carrier. Lord, in your mercy. So no, I think it's right. I think there's a question there. I will not go so far as to say that Graham is helping with any narrative revisionisms.
I think Haller might have that revisionism in his own mind.
And that's what it is. And
he probably was working very hard and thought he was present.
And as leader of an organization, I can tell you I have found myself in that position more times than I care to recount. So I very much know, optics and reality can be very, very different things. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it was a complicated situation.
Sure.
I do, we wanted... I will speak for myself here. My impression of the whole situation was, thank God he did something stupid enough to invalidate his contract, get him the hell out of here.
Thank God that he admitted to it
sooner. Well, my God. So, but I don't know. It's probably not worth rehashing too much.
So
but that's his.
The last thing. This isn't in the article, though. Someone does mention, you all have mentioned, there's a second piece coming out, I believe, after we publish. So I assume this will be in here because Couch mentioned it on his podcast, was asking Alan Haller about Connor Stallions on the sideline with CMU in Spartan Stadium.
Fair question.
What was intriguing to me, first and foremost, was that Couch has long said that Alan Haller probably doesn't care about this. Ends up, as Couch said on his own podcast, Alan Haller does care about this.
He should.
Quite a bit.
He should. They came into our house and tried to steal our things.
So I think we were hard on the idea of hiring Alan Haller as athletic director at the time, because we were like, you go outside, please, for the love of God, go outside.
I mean, I think we made it clear that it was not about him personally. It was about hiring inside the program a guy that was a top in the police department during the whole Nassar thing, and like what that could mean potentially someday. So like we made it explicit that it was not about him as a candidate. It was about the concept of hiring internally versus hiring
process,
externally.
not content. That's
right.
Correct.
Yes.
Alan Haller, I know we just complained about how things went down in the post Mel Tucker era, but his instinct to fire, we like that, right? We're pro the idea that he wanted to fire Mel Tucker right away upon finding out what he did with Brenda Tracy. And we enjoy the fact that Alan Haller has made many now quite successful coaching hires. I also want to say that he's seemed to thread the needle of being, again, wanting to fire Mel Tucker, right? Like,
right.
Not protect the institution and hide, but like take the right action. And also is one of us. Like, holding a grudge against CMU is one of us.
Well, so the other way I saw that too, and this is, I think, to the point of like justifying the hire and why he's part of the reason he's done a good job. He's a Lansing guy. This is his home. There is a certain that you the hometown guy is the harder guy sometimes, but you're the one that's got the most riding on this because you live there. This is where your whole social network is. You got to go out and be seen by people every single day. Doing this thing right is going to be part of your ability to live. So anyway, that was it. But yes, holds a grudge. Anyway, he should hold a grudge. He absolutely must hold a grudge. He is the flag bearer of the athletics department when the University of Michigan colluded with Central Michigan in some way to come into our stadium and steal from us our intellectual property. So I refuse to forget this, to not let this be repeatedly acknowledged. And it was, I didn't listen to Graham's pod, but this is fantastic news. And now I'm like, ooh, what does it mean? What is it going to mean for us? I'm like, are we going to have some new chants, some anti-Central Michigan chants, some fire down shit, you know? So,
well, we'll see. Cause I think I'd be curious to see if you are a fan of Michigan State, what you think the repercussions should be for Central Michigan. Because I think I'm fine with a ban of some period from engaging in any intercollegiate activities with them.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. But so I will see. I think Graham intimated on his podcast that Haller is, without saying why, but like Haller's interested in what the outcome of the NCAA investigation is. And so depending on that outcome, I'm curious, I will be very curious to see what Haller's actions are. Either way, Graham, great work.
Yeah, great work. It was good. It was a good article. It was long, but it was thorough. I have a better sense of Alan Haller now. Yeah, it was good. Appreciated it.
Okay, well, that is enough talk about Graham and saying nice things about him. So let's say some nice things about other people. And we need to say some nice things about Mama's Mercantile and Eatery off of Clear Lake Road on I-94.
In the Grass Lake region.
FaceTimed. Shout out, by the way, Petra. Happy birthday. Today is her birthday.
What?
But Mama's Merc got a
$10 million gift. No, okay.
Painting facelift. It looks great. There were some stained glass pieces installed on the inside that say Mama's. They look great. And the outside, that back patio has been done. It is fantastic. You've got front patio seating. You got back patio seating. Like, truly, folks, get yourself to Mama's Mercantile and Eatery. It looks great, feels great. Food is fantastic. Drinks are fantastic. Mention Can't Read, Can't Write. You get 10% off of your bill. Please stop in. It's like, no bullshit. Really good food, really good drinks. So check it out. Also need to say a nice thing about our dear friend, listener, Mike Jones. I'm having had the Liberator Gin. It's an oldie but a goodie on this podcast.
Truly the greatest accomplishment so far of this segment is the Liberator.
Yes.
Yep.
Should I have a little more?
Why not?
Well, I mean, I think you have to under the circumstances.
If you're asking,
look at this gin. It is from Valentine Distilling Company, which I believe is out of
Ferndale, Michigan.
Ferndale, sorry.
Michigan.
Have you seen a smart brown gin like this? Most folks have not. If you have, then great. We're happy that you're a know-it-all. Leave a comment in the YouTube channel. I'm a know-it-all. But this smart brown gin is delicious.
Yeah.
It looks like a period piece prop. It looks like it should be up on a shelf from like the Oregon Trail adaptation television prestige miniseries. So that's what I think of the Liberation Gin.
All fans of the Liberator here. Like, I think, and not of varying degrees. We're all genuinely fans of it. So find yourself some Liberator. It's great.
Our actual money on Liberator Gin. So yes. Nice. Yeah, make sure it's in the shot. Just over the shoulder. It's like Liberator Gin is the little angel that shows up on your shoulder that tells you how to host the show. Oh, and
All
then
right.
the other side is the little devil that shows up on your shoulder, whatever that
Bumby.
ungodly contraption is. Yeah.
All right.
It's perfect. It's perfect how that works out. All of this, if you're listening on the podcast, and we know that most of you still do, tune in on YouTube to see what I'm talking about.
And you tell me what you think that object is for, because we have thoughts. All right. Next up.
It's in your house, bro.
Mm-hmm. Next up, off Grand River. BT Jordan is no longer with Ohio State. I think it was worth mentioning because it was a short tenure there. It's a short tenure a many a place with BT Jordan. We wish him well? Question mark?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, just another example of a guy with big words and zero follow through. And, you can impress people at a certain point, but they'll catch up to you eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I think it's, to be a successful college football coach in most instances throughout the country. We're not saying about this We're not saying this about Jonathan Smith, but you have to be a bullshitter, right? You have to sell something. And the saying goes, don't bullshit a bullshitter. And so anyway, happy trails. Next up,
speaking of
we
departures,
passed on this for weeks and weeks and weeks, but Denard Robinson is the latest firing from the University of Michigan after being intoxicated and driving.
Yeah,
I believe in Ann Arbor.
Not a good look.
Ubers aplenty.
Yeah, where all is well at the University of Michigan Athletic Department. We should note, Graham isn't the only one talking to athletic directors. Ward did sit down and got a couple heaters, which we didn't really cover at the time. So
it was actually a good article too. Like Tony Garcia, I think, from the news or the press.
I think it was the news. I believe it was the news in this case.
Did good work on that.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't all softballs.
Right. So things aren't well down in Ann Arbor, and hopefully Denard gets help if he needs it or whatever it is. I don't know.
Can we make just a quick slight detour? This is a public policy thing in a lot of Michigan that's near and dear to my heart, including East Lansing. The no street parking from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
is the dumbest fucking law that has ever existed. All you are doing is incentivizing people to drive drunk. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a morally reprehensible law. There's no good reason for it to exist. You don't need it to exist. Like, if you're worried about people posting up their car and not ever leaving, then make it on trash days.
Sure.
It's that easy. People have to move their car on trash days.
Yeah, it's truly an anachronism, and I don't even know anachronism of when. That indicates that there was a time and a place for it, and maybe after the late 90s and all that stuff, maybe there was. But as a taxpayer here in the city of East Lansing, I've just gotten used to it. And in fact, if you're a taxpayer in the city of East Lansing, you have tools to get around it. You can register to leave your car on the street overnight. So really, this is targeted entirely at the students. And I think you're like, I've gotten used to it. It's just sort of background noise to me. But you're right. It is probably that we should look at changing.
And it probably that for students, I'm not justifying this by any means, but like the idea of getting a ticket or, heaven forbid, towed has a financial consequence that's greater than for you, Kevin, right? Like, so it is. This is not making excuses for Denard, but I assume that this is probably the same situation in Ann Arbor. I know it is in other places in Southeast Michigan. This 2 to 6 a.m. bullshit needs to go away. So, like, if you happen to live in a town, like, this is some shit you can rally behind that should be apolitical. Mm-hmm. Like, these are dumb laws that actually put lives in danger because you've introduced a financial calculus around driving drunk.
Denard Robinson can't claim this. You can park on the street in Ann Arbor overnight. So
there you go. Well, there you go. There you have it.
All right. Next up, House v. NCAA settlement negotiations. We talked about this case 2-3 weeks ago now.
Yeah, a little
so there's been some news around potential settlements. We're looking still in the $2 billion range, which is maybe less than the $6 billion that they were threatening. So $2 billion in damages to be paid up by member institutions of the NCAA. There's some debate about how people may or may not opt into the class. Plaintiffs want to make it sort of automatic and binding, by the way, on future NCAA athletes, which is also a bit complicated and probably not something that future NCAA athletes would want, believe it or not. But this settlement is not quite set in stone because there's nothing preventing a future lawsuit for the exact same thing. And when you're wondering, what do you mean, Mike? NIL exists now. Well, again, their literal name, image, and likeness is being used on television for billions in dollars in profit. So we're in the home stretch on getting this case resolved. It will be the most consequential case that the NCAA has ever faced, but and likely will reshape the entirety of college athletics. But there's some important details to iron out for anyone who cares or is following. But like, if you wonder what the next watershed moment is, it is this case. This will change college athletics. And probably, by the way, in ways that we all kind of want it to. It's just a matter of the problem being that future, not even generations, like next year, the year after that, 5 years from now, how do you stabilize is the thing that the NCAA really needs to be caring about right now, and that this case doesn't resolve. Anyone got thoughts, or we should do these Twitter questions?
Super question.
Questions.
All right. Before we do, just want to remind you that if you want, you can submit your questions via can't read, can't write, 1855@gmail.com. Again, that's can't read, can't write, 1855@gmail.com. If you want to participate in Twitter questions, you can submit them that way. First up, listener Mike Jones asks, assuming Vanderbilt makes the tournament next year, what kind of numbers will AJ put up against us in the first round?
Plum, this seems like ready-made for you.
I don't know. I would say he'd probably score
You're torn.
6 points, 8 points, 4 points. I definitely turned the ball over 9 times, though, so that's good.
Let me ask Plum this. What do you think is more likely? Or rather, who do you think plays with more vitriol in the veins? MSU football against Jaden Mangum or MSU basketball against AJ Hoggard?
Mangum. I think they like AJ. By and large, I think they like AJ. And
Really?
they recognize, yeah, I think so. I think that his teammates, I don't think it's probably universal, but I think generally speaking, they're a close-knit group, and they recognized he couldn't keep playing for us, and he wanted to get his bag somewhere. I don't think there's probably any love lost there. I mean, I don't think there's probably any hatred either, right? Like I
don't think like Derek Dix did come out to say something about this in the way that the entire alumni group has come out to make a comment on Jaden Mangum is doing. So I think it's clearly the football team is going to have that shit this fall. And God,
relatedly,
the committee would love to put Vanderbilt bracket.
Relatedly, Greg, where does Ken Talley, because you're very online, you'll get this, rank in your top 10 favorite players after shitting all over Mangum for being a traitor?
So I did not see this tweet, and all of the tweets or Instagram or Kicks or TikToks or whatever it was. Jones, did you see this one?
I think you just called him soft.
The Kobe, soft. One of those. Yeah. Hi, Ken Talley. Hi, top 10. All of a sudden, it goes Drew Stanton, and then 1 through 9. Drew Stanton, Ken Talley, number 10. That's my rank order. Next up, from Beth Amaro to Plum at random. If you had to choose one guaranteed win and one guaranteed loss for football this year, which games would you choose?
Hi, Beth. Love you. We will lose to Ohio State.
I think you just need to guarantee it.
This is your chance to choose. You choose.
Then we win. We beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And we lose to Ohio State. Yeah, I guess that's fine.
That's sort of the smartest way to do it. Yeah.
I think so.
Do we have Michigan at home this year?
No. It's in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
That's too bad for Mangum.
You better make sure that
it's route.
The equipment on the field of that game. And then next from Beth Amaro, we'll go to Plum again with this one. If we beat Michigan this year, given where the coaching staff and rosters are presently, would you call that an upset? Expected win? Keep in mind that Michigan's going to be approximately a top 10 preseason team.
Also, keep in mind that you have opinions about the correct use of presently.
I do actually have very, very strong opinions about the word presently. But I'm gonna overlook at Beth. I'm gonna overlook at Beth. I'm gonna overlook it. I would say that's still an upset, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Next up,
from go ahead, Blum.
Kevin Gregg, what's more likely? Jonathan Smith knows about the Kendrick Drake beef, or the Neons make an appearance this season? That's a good question.
Oh, Jonathan Smith, if you think this Kendrick Drake beef is not on his radar right now, you are sorely mistaken. He's out there with his iPod Touch and his I don't know, his Patagonia puffer vest. And he is well aware that Kendrick is winning this war. So there is no doubt in my mind. It would surprise me if the Neons still show up, though. Call it a review Neon night. Next up from Thomas Jonesy, there's a lot of construction on campus, so you mischievously decide to refer one building to a former condition. Which building do you choose?
This is the worst question you could have sent to me. But the answer is so clearly hold on, help me out here. The east side of Spartan Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And we're bringing back the gas pumps.
Oh yeah, you got to bring back the gas pumps. That is the clear answer to this question. You know what is definitely the answer to this question under any circumstances? The outdoor tool at IM. Choose that, you'd be a fool too. Next up from Munfield Plum, I know are usually closer with the position coach and not the DC, but do you think it's weird that none of Minnesota's players followed Rossi into the portal?
I don't know. I don't know what you say about that. It is probably weird.
I don't know. Hazleton didn't bring anyone. Everyone from Oregon State had a position coach that also came over. I'm trying to think. No one came with Jay Johnson.
I can't imagine why no one came with Jay Johnson. I cannot.
But I'm trying to think of other examples. Is that normal?
I mean, I don't think it's as simple as assuming that there are Minnesota players that we want. There's definitely been Minnesota defensive players that have answered through the transfer portal. Just haven't ended up here. I don't think this is as simple as it looks, but it is maybe a little sus. Maybe it's something that you keep an eye on. maybe Munfield will look back with this in 3 years when we all hate Ross even more than we ever hated Ross Ells. I don't know. We'll see. Next up from Joe Ashworth, Joe, the genuine question: if it's truly quote good players transferring away from MSU, wouldn't the cold shoulder be much more appropriate than all the coverage one guy and his overly online family has covered?
No, Joe. Because here's the thing. And we've talked about this before on the pod that athletes are getting a bit of their cake and eating it too right now.
That's it.
Making hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of dollars, and being student athletes. And so I think it's fair that we should treat someone who not only played for the team, but earned money while playing for our team, and then left for our rival in the same way that we would treat someone who enrolled at Michigan State and is a fan of Michigan. You're a fucking loser.
Yep.
I hate you. Like, you're the worst. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't want good things for him. And I would say the same about someone who went to Michigan State and was a U of M fan. I don't want good things for you. I actually hope that you have a miserable life.
Yeah.
Injury free, because apparently we need to say that, but like, I hope that you are miserable. I hope you don't find love. Like, I truly
much that it's nothing brings you joy that you never feel personally fulfilled. Those
because
sorts of things.
you could have gone to Michigan State and graduated from Michigan State and ended your career at Michigan State, and you would have been able to walk this earth knowing that you saw anyone with a Michigan State James Madison shirt out in the wilderness. You could have said go green, and you would have known they would have said go white back to you, and you would have had an instant connection. But you forwent that because you're a piece of shit. So no, his family sucks, and his brother, who was like our 6th running back and then committed to Minnesota to be their 6th running back on scholarship, and is 25 in his 7th year of eligibility in college. He also sucks. They all suck. This is our moment in the sun. They're now making money. We can say mean things about them.
There you go.
Greg, next up, what do the NCAA, Purdue Pharma, and Pfizer have in common? And is it that they suck as much as Jaden Mangham?
Whoop.
No, that was not part of the question. Just what do those 3 things have in common?
Did the NCAA push OxyContin onto student athletes? Is that where this is coming from?
Just to say.
Like, yeah. Is this? I assume that this is there's a big multi-billion-dollar payout coming. Yeah. It's a long time coming. $2 billion. I don't know. What do you guys think about that dollar amount? I am waffling back and forth. Part of me thinks like it's a little steep. Part of me is like over 10 years from all the different member institutions. I mean, the question is, when did the money truly get crazy in college athletics?
Right.
Well, I think the challenge here is not only when did it get crazy in college athletics, but because we're focusing on TV revenue, right? Like, that's the piece of this that we're focusing in on.
Right.
But let's not pretend that the MAC's getting a massive payout for their TV revenue.
Right.
Like, the unfortunate thing about this lawsuit, which is intended to help student athletes, right? And that's fair, but it is probably going to accelerate the, I'm going to say bifurcation, but like, who knows, trifurcation, right? Of college athletics, because you're going to find yourself in that class and you're going to have to probably make some, well, it depends on how the class chooses to pay out, but like, ultimately someone at the MAC doesn't deserve the same amount as someone at the Big Ten or the SEC, right?
Right.
And so
the market has spoken on that and has for years.
Right. So, but the shitty thing, like, in all of this, is that the thing that we love about the NCAA tournament, beyond our own team winning, is usually a Cinderella story. I think am I alone in that? Like, because we've not actually touched on the expansion of the NCAA tournament, and we're not going to right now. But like, we all love a Cinderella.
Yeah. Oakland this year and everything that happened there. So
the idea Boise State when we were kids probably is one that like against Oklahoma was a storied game. But like the Boise States of the world don't matter.
It's gonna be a lot harder. Yeah.
So this anyway, I know that wasn't the point of your question, Joe, but like that's a shitty consequence of all of this is how this all gets paid out.
And I think a lot of people would look at what's happening recently in the NCAA tournament, not this year, but the last couple of years, and say, like, actually, it's starting to look like maybe there's a lot more like parity in the NCAA. I would suggest that's because of the COVID year. That's because you've got 19-year-old McDonald's All-Americans playing against 24-year-old dudes on their last stop before they have to learn Russian. So, like, it's another one of those things where, like, the portal, NIL, and the COVID year are all these co-mingling factors, and it's hard to separate what's what and what's causing what.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, next up, Greg, the Jaden Mangum. Oh, I just sent it to you, Plum. The Jaden Mangum transfer is very similar to the offensive line Justin Boren transfer from OSU to U of M in 2008. Coaching changed 2 years into a career. Oh, what did I say?
You didn't. You just didn't say his name.
Oh, Jason Fry. Sorry. Yeah.
We just need
coaching
to
changed 2 years into
our podcast historian, gets his due on his questions. So.
Well, he didn't ask a question here, but anyway, coaching changed 2 years into career, consecutive losses to a rival caught cheating by NCAA, family denigrated new coaching staff, fans from departed school publicly bitter. Plum, react to this non-question.
Okay. Thank you, Jason, very much. Very, very well. Next up, Carl, you do too much, bro. Michael, how long until we get all three mics at the same time again?
Now.
If only listeners could hear the audio we're getting from Greg's high quality mic, it would really be.
They might. They might. Still might.
And we will have them never come back to us again, to be sure. Michael, one more for you from Carl. Fellas, I'm told by reliable rivalry sources that I've recently engaged in some untoward and toxic behavior vis-a-vis my day job. Trolling. What, if any, grace do we owe to the most venal and prolific shit posters in the MGO Twitter sphere? Is ad hominem always off limits? If so, why? More to wit, if you affirmatively decide to treat your actual NIL as a brand in pursuit of Twitter monetization and engagement, aren't you essentially opting into public figure treatment? Does the paid checkmark not both giveth and taketh away?
Carl, honestly, good question. Like, it's a good question.
Oh, and well written, I should say.
Yeah. So you've been on a heater, Carl. Like, I want to be very clear. I personally do not care for vitriol as it relates to a person's size. That feels like something that's not okay and probably should be off limits because there's a lot of complicating factors there. But otherwise, you've been on a heater and keep up the vitriol. They're reprehensible human beings, and you should go forth and conquer. And by the way, the lawyer that you've been after lately, excellent work. Excellent work. Are you guys familiar with this lawyer?
No.
I don't know what you're referring to here. I'm missing out. I'm sorry, Carl. I haven't been seeing your greatest, your recent best work.
I'm missing this too.
Yeah. So there's during the Mel Tucker era, there was this U of M fan. She became very popular for opining on the legal situation as it relates to Mel Tucker. And then she started to sort of flirt in the OnlyFans space where she got a ton of reply guys, but apparently also has like occupies an in-house counsel role at a reputable company. But like today, I believe today posted a picture that y'all can find if you really want to, that like I would never post in my wildest dreams anything remotely comparable for fear of lack of professionalism. So anyway, but
well, I think what we have to remember is that internet real points, and that that's what really matters in everything.
when ACR
Internet
comes
points.
up, I'll be like, "Hey, but boss, did you see this post where I did this?"
Oh,
That was for Plum.
my.
That was for Plum.
Well, it was
He
also for
wasn't
our
even
YouTube
watching.
audience. I mean, he's always watching.
Always looking.
Greg, what do you think of Coach Meat? Do we love our Coach Meat? Is meat back on the menu?
I'm happy that meat's on the menu right now. By the sound of it, meat is trying to help everyone else be more meat. And I'm carnivore. I'm
Meat
down
up.
to rip and tear.
There it is.
We need more Coach Meat right now, is what it sounds like.
Plum, are you upset? This is from JD. Are you upset you're recording a night early and we'll miss part 2 of Graham's Holler article?
Holler.
Forgot how to say it in the last 5
Holler
minutes.
back girl?
Holler back girl. I am upset. I'm upset at. Listen, I expect everyone to accommodate my schedule. I hate having to accommodate anyone else's. I get very bothered by it. So
Yeah, Graham could have posted the article tonight. He had it written.
He could have shared an early draft with us. Graham. Damn it. All right, next up, Kate Nordstrom. Kevin, you're getting a new family pet and you decide to honor your MSU pride with its name. However, you have to name it after either Mel Tucker, Harlan Barnett, or Jonathan Smith. What name/nickname do you choose, and what kind of pet is it?
We have to know someone that named their dog after Mel Tucker, and we have to know that didn't go great. Harlan Barnett. Let's see. Do I want this dog to be the most boring dog and totally just generally oblivious to everything that's going on around
So you're
me?
describing my dog is what I'm hearing right now.
Yali.
Yali. Yeah, that's it.
Which leaves our friend Jonathan Smith. So presumably this is a shaggy dog that's
You said not boring?
chill. Still a little boring. But doesn't red rocket in front of our guests like it would with a Mel Tucker named dog. Is aware of its surroundings, so not a Harlan Barnett dog. So that leaves for us a Jonathan Smith dog. That'll be perhaps a little bit shaggy, a little bit dull.
If it does red
But
rocket
whatever.
around people, would you be tempted to name it Tucker or would you name it Boomstick?
I think we just name it Tuck. Next up from the Key Skate, will you buy EA's NCAA Football 25?
I would like to, but I'm not convinced that my purchase of NCAA 25 is the end of my purchase for NCAA 25. And
Because of that first part, EA is the kicker here.
yeah, and like I'm happy to I would happily spend more money on your game to have the game.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like I'd spend $100 on your game to have it.
Yeah, wasn't there something in the line items under the deluxe version of like you get 2,000 college points or something like that? And it's just like, oh God, what is that going to mean? What is that going to mean? The problem for me is that it's not coming to PC, so I don't know how I'm going to play it except by
Buying
Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, that's not happening. I'm not doing that. Game Pass. That's my only shot.
Next question. Best weekday dinner recipe.
I can't believe you didn't throw this to me.
Yeah. Jason makes a great spaghetti, actually. Great spaghetti. Otherwise, we just barbecue chicken and throw it on the grill. And that's just particularly appealing right now with the nice weather we're having. So, yeah.
Have you?
All right.
Do you hammer it out? Like a chicken breast?
Please don't ask intimate questions about my dinner and relationships.
I hate you.
Sick son of a bitch. All right, last up from the Keith Ski for Greg. You think Izzo can cook anything at all?
Izzo hasn't been cooking since 2016. Am I right?
Cracks a beer. Cracks his own beer after that. My
Izzo
gosh.
only washes the dishes.
That's good.
Gonna clip this.
That's great. All right, Beppe Plum is up next for Michael Jones. It is estimated that 37% of people work for free outside of office hours. Teachers work an average of 70 hours per week. I was singing Farmer in the Dell in the shower today. Pretty easy to say I am way over 70 hours a week. Now you know.
Is that billable time? Farmer in the Dell?
I don't know what any of that
Farmer
meant.
in the Dell is. Are you practicing? Like, I'm confused. What are you doing?
I think Holman says that he's in a truly manic state where Farmer in the Dell is what he's saying in the shower. But if you're teaching kids to whom you would say Farmer in the Dell, what's the 70 hours for? I thought that was for like grading papers and stuff like that.
Also, teachers do the Lord's work. We're very happy for you.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you sincerely. But work to rule, man. Work to rule. Next up, Plum. Rude and perverse people often ask women if the curtains match the drapes. Disgusting of them to do that. So, about the stash. I will watch 17 seconds of onlyplums.com out of curiosity. Maybe 18. If no Plum, will Greg please answer as Plum? AI?
What? I don't know what the AI is. Is it?
If Greg won't answer, will we run it through ChatGPT?
Oh my God! Thank you for not doing that. Thank God I'm here this week. Beppe, just send us an email and we'll send you back some sexy texts, and you can make a decision on your own self. My upstairs stash and my downstairs stash.
Barry Zuckercorn. Those are balls.
Those are balls. Barry Zuckercorn. Anytime an Arrested Development reference can be made is a good.
Those are balls.
Those are balls. Oh, Henry Winkler.
Close.
All right.
Always look like landscape, but
oh, goody! Here it comes. Let me just get ready for this one from Mamapoly for Kevin. Couch's May 18th article speaks of the.
Say it as she wrote it.
Couch's 518 article speaks of the AD's take on the past and future outlook. Haller's quote, I had to put a face on, not to necessarily show strength, but to comfort other people's anxiety, end quote. Referred to the news on 9/10/23. Do you believe that he succeeded in the comfort category?
I think what we're saying earlier, as discussed, thank you for your question or being on topic here. Maybe a little short. We did have some critiques at the time. You can go back and listen to that episode. We did quite well. Thank you. No, maybe not a bullseye on that one. Hit the dartboard. Wasn't as complete a miss as has happened in the past, but was not a bullseye. That's for sure.
The surprising thing to me about this was that I didn't realize, I guess, Canadians write their dates in the same way that we do. They don't European it?
Apparently, it moved on after the Canadian delegation was sent adrift across the ocean and decided to do this different thing. So, that is strange belief. Maybe that's all a front. Maybe she's not Canadian.
All right, for the both of you, which twosome, when recording the podcast, stays true to the script more without going off on tangents? Jones and Grooch, Grooch and Plum, Plum and Jones.
I think it is me and Grooch. Right?
Yeah. The reason that we have to go off on tangents is to make it up for Jones. Just the pulling on. So
You're misreading the question. Plum was answering authentically, and you've misread the entire question.
I think you and I don't go off script because Michael puts more time into the outline and thus is more confident in it, and therefore he gets to do his own expositions, while me, having done the absolute least amount of work, is very uncomfortable deviating very far. I'm also the one who's like, I want to go night-night now. Let's be done, please. Done, please. So
there you go.
Go. Great.
How many Plum and Greg episodes are there of Can't Read, Can't Write? Are there
I think there's one. Is there one? I think I vaguely remember doing one.
I think there's at least one. Two.
You think there's two?
It could be two.
Yeah.
I gotta find those. Any listener can get up to 10 bonus points by finding those episodes and tweeting them to us for next month's Twitter question.
Jason Fry already has it.
I was deeply disappointed. Greg, I invited him last week to assist in creating the Twitter question rules, and he said, "No, you guys nailed it. I have no notes." The worst instance of yes-anding I've ever seen.
He no-butted you.
Yeah. Next up, Mr. Neurotic Pants. Here's my hot take / prediction about Jonathan Smith and the program. MSU will become a third-place team, in some ways similar to Penn State. Good, very occasionally elite, except Smith can probably call a football game and won't slip up like Penn State often did against MSU. Talk amongst yourselves. U of M will view itself as a better team, but will cringe every time it has to play a strong, highly motivated opponent.
Yeah, this gets to the, where does MSU sit in the hierarchy of power of the new Big Ten? Yeah, and I think we've talked about this.
Well,
I also think that they probably said the same thing about us when D'Antonio was here. They didn't want to play us, but they still viewed themselves as better. So take me to third place in the Big Ten, and we're flirting with the college football playoffs. I'm comfortable with this scenario.
I think Penn State's pretty good comp for us generally. I mean, if you just look at how we've played against them since they've joined the Big Ten, it's basically even. So that, to me, says that Penn State's a really good comp for us. But I do think Jonathan Smith is a better coach than what they're working with over there. Yep. So
this national championship for Michigan is not good. Not good at all. For that
next up, from Mr. Neurotic Pants, Stevie Izzo is recruited to the Mongolian Semi-Professional Basketball League, proving all Spartans turn pro these days. And increasingly irate Izzo dismisses Graham Couch's question, quote, "I've won multiple national championships. I think I know what I'm doing." Couch responds, "I'd like to follow up on that last statement." What? Izzo cuts him off. "Either you're not speaking or I can't hear you." Jake Bosch, who we haven't discussed, but maybe get Nicole to watch soon, hedges his bet saying, "Well, it's hard to recruit against places like U of M, Illinois, Minnesota, because the weather is so much better there and we don't have rivers in those states." Regarding football, Tim Stout comes in. This is a new addition. We don't see much of Tim on the show. "I don't know if MSU will play physical football this year, but it wouldn't surprise me." That's actually a pretty guarded Tim Stout reference. We can turn up a little bit more on that. And Reverend Mel Tucker and the Church of the Multi-Level Market welcomes Danton Cole, Jay Johnson, and Scotty Hazelton into the ministry.
Bless their ordination. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot happening in that episode.
You used your extra characters well, Mr. Neurotic Pants. Well done. Next up, Gretch. When you refer to your wife's boyfriend, do you mean Alex Plum, Jonesy, or the Upper Deck Jerk guy?
It's a rotating cast.
Good answer.
Who the wife's boyfriend is.
I thought you were going to reference the person you'd give the key to your home to if he showed up at your door. But in case he came across this podcast, you would not want that to happen. Next up, Upper Deck Jerk guy. Did Plum chase AJ? Did Plum chase AJ? Okay. Did Plum chase AJ like he did with Max, Foster, and Motti? Chase AJ away, I think, is what he meant to say.
Presumably,
chase AJ away?
Yeah, or like a folksy say, like he did with Max, Foster, and Motti. And I did. And I was right to. And I think that true Spartans everywhere appreciate me for it. and you're welcome, all of you.
Is America doomed? Second to last from the average guy. Does social media or podcasting have the biggest blame for our downfall? Social media.
Yeah, it's social media. Actually, just all media. I mean, and I'm not even like they're lying to you, the media, blah blah blah. But even the Times today published an opinion piece by Patty Davis, Ronald Reagan's daughter, about civility. And I just thought, oh, for the love of God.
Wait,
just
Matt Coughlin's wife?
Probably. I don't know. Is that a reference to something?
That would explain why she got trapped in her attic if she was Ronald Reagan's daughter. That would.
Oh, I got you now. I got you.
Her name was Patty. Her name was Patty Davis. Now it's Patty Coughlin. Right. But like, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, now I got it. I'm here now. Anyway, and I just think like anyway, I don't know. It's a stupid question without an answer. I guess that was her point, and that's the point of this question. Stupid question, idiot. Yes, of course it's doomed. Next up, last up, Kevin, have you ever danced naked in front of another person intentionally?
That's how we prepare for every episode of this podcast. He has hacked into us. See, he knows. He's got us. He's got our number right there.
It's our Tubin seance.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, thanks for sticking with us.
A swinging like of the
what? Of the plums?
Of the plums.
Onlyplums.com.
All right, let's get out of here.
Co.uk.
I hate you all. I love our listeners. Hate the both of you, but gentlemen, go green.
Go white.
Now your audio doesn't fuck up.